Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things we've been asking everybody to do is think about when you go down Route 1, the places that you really remember along Route 1, the places where you actually go, not just go through. And so, that's as we're contemplating. So we know some people have said, well, not Freeport. Have you seen Freeport on a rainy day? Forget about it. So we know all of those kind of things, and realistically, just from just take all of the other issues off the table, quality of life, and irritation of traffic and those kind of things off the table, just purely economic development perspective. If you had the problems that Freeport has, you'd be doing really well economically. So that's but it's a it can be a double-edged sword. You have to be really careful of what you wish for. So we don't I don't want to say don't make this place as awesome as it could be, because there might be too much traffic, but it's something to think about. Back to you. Oh.
No, the eastbound traffic that everybody is concerned about, and I think it is a legitimate concern. I was just thinking we could divert them down Hillside and bring them around on the Route 1.
Right. Do we have any Hillside votes for that idea? They'd have to go slow though, because we got all these things going on. Yes.
Yeah, previously one plan that I had very full of roundabouts.
Yes. Thank you for asking that.
Could you repeat it?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry. So he was asking about. He noticed that we didn't have roundabouts in the the original gateway plan, and things that had roundabouts. So we thought long and hard about it, because we know that years of work went into that. Years of work. And for us, we work on projects, and if I spent years working on it, and then somebody came in 4 days and said, I don't think so. Now, what we figured out was that they did a great job on that plan. That plan does all the things it's supposed to do. It deals with the traffic counts in the future, all of those things. The one reason why we couldn't go along and just follow the pattern that had been set up for us with all that great work for us was that it anticipated Route 1 staying as it is. It's still a speedway, in which case you need to have the roundabout so the traffic never has to stop. It keeps on flowing. All of those things that you want to do if you're focused on the car. Now, it said a lot of things in the report and the study about walkability and cycling and those sorts of things, and there's, pathway extensions and, all of that stuff. And that's, if you've got to keep it just as it is, you're not changing the land use or the pattern or the character of the form that's there, then you have to do all the things that they did. So they did an excellent job. But since we're reimagining this completely, thinking about it being a real slower speed, avenue, Grand Avenue, you don't need those things, because we're balancing the modes of transportation. And a roundabout is great for a few things. Yes, it makes the car go a little bit slower than it would have if it hadn't been there, because Americans freak out when they see the circle and they don't know what to do, and do I yield to the car, or do I have the right of way? And so they have to pay more attention, and anytime you have an accident, it's much less severe, because you're just grazing off the side and scraping the paint off the doors. But what happens is at the intersection, where would have been an intersection, the cars never have to stop, which means the pedestrians never have the ability to, unless there's a break in the gap, in the traffic flow, to get across. You never know when you're supposed to go. You keep looking, and then you've got to follow the car around and see, is it gonna, you have to time it just right. And so, some people say, well, just put a stop sign in. Well, it seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do, but then it's back to, well, you didn't need a roundabout if you had a stop sign. So, but you guys haven't, one of the only examples I've seen of a roundabout with a stop sign in it. I heard it has two, actually, in front of the elementary school. So that's the reason why we didn't do roundabouts, but we've done all of the same things, short of keeping the traffic constantly flowing down Route 1. We've dealt with the same issues. We've made the intersections safer. We've rationalized the angles, all of those kinds of things without the roundabouts. So great work to all the people who worked on the Gateway Plan, working within the rules that you were given. We just were lucky, and the people said, you don't have to follow those rules anymore. And the citizens said, that's right, we want to see a change in paradigm. Yes?
Could, earlier in your presentation, you did show the exit 17 circumstance. It was more or less the beginning. And I have a memory problem, so I've forgotten. What is your solution, though, without a roundabout? How are we going to address that in your plan?
Exit 17, that is
That's
the
the
one.
north end where you come off.
Oh, Delorme, yes, yes, yes.
And you
Okay.
take the death turn to the
Yes,
left into
yes.
the sun.
I would say that if there, I believe our transportation engineer said, because that's more important than what I would say, I believe that the consensus was if you're gonna have a roundabout, that area would be the spot you would have it. But, you know, the way that we've now taken some of the local traffic and pulled, you know, I can't remember the name of the street, but it used to come up and kind of come into this oblique angle to Route 1.
88 Spring
Yeah,
Street?
and then, you know, we've now pulled it up. And so you actually enters at a right angle, so it pulled it away from that intersection, which means you have one less thing to think about, you know, some of the other issues that are going on there. So, but it is, that one definitely, you know, as you consider what to do to Route 1 needs, you know, some more, you know, additional study. That's a good point. So if you want a roundabout, if you love roundabouts, if you don't want to get rid of them, that's probably where you put one. Yes? Yes?
It seems to me that one element that Ymth is missing that might be incorporated, and I don't know if you considered it, was places of entertainment, movies, legitimate stage, theaters, that sort of thing. Did you give any thought to that?
Yes, we actually think about that stuff a lot. You know, as you're looking at setting yourself up as a destination, as a walkable destination, as a park once destination, you know, the more of those types of things you can have, the better off you are. I know that Mark, one of our team members, his wife was here, and she was just hanging out with us, and so she would go to the movies a couple of times over the past few days, and I don't think she went to the movies here. She had to leave town, right? And I think she maybe went to 2 different towns to go to patronize their movies. We ate local food though, so don't worry. But I think that when you're looking at those types of things, they can fit into this new paradigm, the walkable paradigm. Now, if you're talking about a movie theater, a multiplex, you know, that's hard.
I'm thinking more a small theater.
Yes, so black box and sort of the smaller community scale theaters, you know, showing live actors or showing, you know, artistic films and those sorts of things, they can fit in really well, just as they used to in the historic parts of town. I imagine you probably used to have a theater in downtown somewhere. And so, you know, with this character-based approach, it would come, you know, it would fit right in with that. It would just be pulled up to the street, etc. Drive-in, I don't know if we could do a walkable, bikeable drive-in. I know you used to have a drive-in. But I don't know if, you know, we could probably come up with something. We'd probably project it on the back of a really cool building, you know, in the parking lot, you hang out. So it'd be a shared parking drive-in. But anyway, there's all kinds of things you can do, but it's great when you can have those. In the end, you know, it takes somebody with the passion and desire and financing to be able to do it. You know, so nothing that we did would prohibit it, would encourage it, in fact, but it can't make it happen. But we'd allow it in the zoning, you know, those sorts of things would be set up for that. Yes?
Use the high school, they've got a great auditorium and stage.
Sure. The stage, but not.
Yes, sir.
Some of what you showed on Route 1, the walkability with the shops and all, looked similar to Freeport in that, you know, you were trying to create storefronts
Yes.
with parking behind, which is fine. Freeport has LL Beans, and that's their draw.
Right.
And then they get the dance and all the other outlet stores that kind of go along with it. Ymth at this point does not have a draw to bring people in so that they're going to go to all these little shops that are there. Right. And most of what's on Route 1 right now is not a walkable type of business.
That's right.
And without the economy changing around drastically, you aren't going to be able to rent all these spaces that you've created. And I realize this isn't a vision of down the road because of a lot of what you showed, at least on my side of Route 1, change property lines.